Hi everyone, hope you're well and enjoying some of the Easter sunshine, or as much as you're allowed to enjoy in the current situation. I'm really glad to see so many of you here for the second of British Rowing's webinar lockdown series. Today we have Jörg Goltz, who is the performance coach developer working with GB Rowing's performance pathway. Jörg has years of experience working with high performance athletes that are working towards Olympics and other international competitions, and he's previously worked with many of my colleagues and myself, and I've had some fantastic chats over coffee and over Google Hangouts now. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen in the next hour. As our last webinars, exactly the same thing. If you have questions, then just pop them in the question panel. We'll sort through them. We might interject as we go through, or we'll pick things up at the end of the session. Anything we don't answer, we will try and put on a PDF and link back to the website. So without further ado, Jörg.
Well, thanks, Dan, and thanks, Sarah, who actually talked me into that. And I'll probably just start with an apology. I thought this would just be a little, a little other hangout over coffee with a handful of people, and it would become highly interactive, a bit like what it said on the tin. But that's actually not happening to the extent that I would like it. So please use the chat opportunity, send your comments, send your questions, be critical, even if that's just please sit upright and could you pronounce the R a bit different. So please use that, and if you wanted to talk outside and go into a hangout or in a go-to webinar, or what all those platforms are called these days, then yeah, please indicate. And I'm pretty sure, knowing now that the lockdown probably goes well beyond May, I'm sure we find some time to have that highly interactive conversation the way I like it. Right. Well, who am I? Well, I'm Jörg, similar to that guy that the chief coach in British Rowing. It's just without E and N. I'm first and foremost a family person, like probably all of you are. And this is actually a picture from last Easter with my family, and we are not together. So I'll come back to that. So my family bit has been disrupted, like your family bits have been probably disrupted heavily. And then when I'm not family, I do what I do here on the left. I look over the shoulder of coaches and athletes, and I'm supporting coaches, and have been doing that in that capacity for the last 5 years, 2014, working with British Triathlon, with their performance coaches, and since the autumn of 2018, I've been doing some work in Caversham, and over the last probably about 6 to 8 months with coaches in high performance program clubs. So these are sort of the two things. Anyway, I talked about family and disruptions of plans. My plan was disrupted as well. So tonight is not about the traditional check-in. Yeah, the check-in of tomorrow, Good Friday. We would probably be now in the car. We would be on the ferry across to Europe. We might be on a plane, but we would definitely be not where we are right now. That was my plan, seeing my family, and yeah, well, we all know those trips have been cancelled. That's it. And I might go back at some point, but at the moment we don't know. So no, tonight we talk about that check-in, the emotional check-in that we always do a little bit, but maybe due to the fact that now coronavirus, COVID-19 is sort of the main topic, I mean the emotional check-in, and that's what we're talking tonight. Based on Mr. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, obviously the new need there is toilet paper. Of course, we're all stocked up now. So yes, what I go through here is really going based on those needs. And what I did, and I waited a week until a week into lockdown until I reconnected with coaches. And these are the questions that the coaches got. So that's Tuesday, 31st of March, pretty much bang on 1 week into it. Up to then, they were all very, very busy making sure all the ergos are with the athletes, all the dumbbells are with athletes, benches. I did the same at British Triathlon, and they delivered treadmills to their houses. So coaches were super busy, hyper busy. So I waited, and then I came with those questions, and see how much they are still in sync. So as I said, I did that not only to the performance coaches that are in Caversham, but I sent it to HPPCs. I sent it to under 23 coaches. I think you, Dan, Dan got it as well, and maybe some of you that are listening, you got that as well. And I did the same with coaches in triathlon. Again, the same coaches on the pathway, from the Olympic coaches right to academy coaches and home nation. And I sent it to one of the performance coaches at British Swimming that I'm working with. And the idea really was to check in and, if nothing else, give them a bit something that they might be able to use when talking with their athletes, when checking in maybe with their parents, checking in with their colleagues. So really just a form that they could use and take away straight into checking in with their people. I invited them that if they wanted to have a chat, of course, get in touch, let's have a chat, let's have a conversation. And to that questionnaire, I put those two pictures, sort of the daily routine that goes back to the question around, to what extent have you found a daily rhythm yet? And if you look carefully at the questions, they're all open questions. There's nothing loaded, nothing closed. It's all very open. So to what extent have you found a daily rhythm yet? If people didn't exactly know what I meant, you would have this here as a bit of an idea. And I provided the change curve. I'm pretty sure it came across the Kubler-Ross curve. Kubler-Ross was a psychiatrist, I think even half Swiss, American Swiss, and she used that developed that for families in bereavement, as a grievance curve. These days we use it quite a bit, to look at change, manage change. I have used it in the past quite a bit for myself, and I had in my life quite a few situations, quite shocking events, and this helped me to kind of raise my awareness to see where I am and what's going on. So really raising self-awareness. And you might have used this curve. If you go on the web these days, it's flooded by slightly different approaches. You might see different words used. I just use that one, and it does the job and informs those coaching conversations. Obviously, out of that, the question is, where are your athletes on the curve, peers, parents, etc., etc. Really a simple model that helps me in my daily work with coaches and other key stakeholders to sort of feed that conversation. I hope that all makes sense. Otherwise, Dan, you just jump in. And what I see is there's no question yet, which I think is positive. I think. Anyway, so what happened? And basically, within half an hour, the first email came, and actually, it came from someone that hasn't been engaged for the last few months. You know, that kind of rings a bell a bit, and we come back to that. Half an hour, boom, from a person, from a coach that usually doesn't really engage. So, wow. People met straight away, you know, as groups, as individuals, one-to-one. So there was quite some activity on the inbox, and to be honest, I was probably a little bit surprised at how much there was. So yeah, so that's what happened on that 30th. Straight away, people were on the keyboards and set up meetings or just wrote back. And there were even a few that said, "Oh, can I really nip that those questions? I just have a team meeting with my peers," or one even said, "with my athletes, can I use it?" Yes, please. And I would say the same to you. You know, if you haven't got that done yet or want to use it, please. There's no copyright on it. So, well, and obviously always technology nice when it works. I think I did all those platforms the last 2 weeks as you did, and you can see it from, you know, from my face. It's pretty square. What did I hear? I just rattle you sort of through what I hear. You don't have to read it all. I think you can get that PowerPoint through Dan if you're interested. Yeah, I just rattle you. It was more about, you know, the second part, what was happened this 2 weeks has been a real challenge to get on, you know, and it was. And once again, this is unprecedented. Nobody can say, yes, we've been there before, and now we know how to train on the ergo, because, you know, nobody knows. Swimming, you know, nobody knows how it is if you come out of this after 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks not swimming in the pool. So we're almost on a level playing field. Yeah, so this is where I read quite loud, you know, and it then says, you know, athletes get in touch at 7 a.m. and as late as 1 a.m., where I think that is a bit unsocial hours. And was it such an emergency, or, you know, was it necessary? So I would listen, and, you know, is that maybe sort of a bit denial? Anyway, we come back to it. What did we hear? We do person first. Your email was timed very well, or timed well. I'm well, thanks. Just getting on with work and home life, you know, kind of. And when you know the person behind it, then that kind of rings a bell. All right, okay. Usually that person sends me a full page, and now a very short one. I'm a bit of an antisocial anyway, so the lifestyle is not that different. Hello. Very much business as normal. This is more, you know, there's one, I'm really gutted, really pissed off. Someone even said, well, it's just a change of plan, no need to dramatize. There's the other one, I'm fitter than ever. I can get on my bike, and I can even go running still. Then you listen, oh, my wife is soon to go on furlough. All right, okay. What does that mean? The other one here is, you know, I feel very challenged. What do I do with athletes that come to the end of their career? I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably have come across similar stuff over the last 2 weeks. There is more. Well, there was more. Well, and some really went at lengths. You know, that is one coach, you know, who actually answered all those questions that, you know, that he got. And that wasn't requested. You know, I didn't request, you have to come back and tell me, you know, answer it. That's more like school, isn't it? And then you get a tick off or not. But hey, nice one. Thank you. Very short one. All good with me at the moment. Okay. I heard that a few times. I've probably had more conversations with people since I've been someone said I had more conversations with athletes than ever. I went back and asked him, is that good? Is that good or is that bad? I said, well, I guess it's good. Well, yes, it's good. Look at that one. That's a coach who wanted to take an athlete in. So this coach here asked me, how can I have the conversation that this coach doesn't do that? Hey, look at that. We're flexible, and look at the middle. Wow, of course, a performance coach. Look at that. What's the film list? Cradle of Champions. That's probably for tonight. The arrival, and the wedding guest, maybe on Easter Sunday. No, but really, really comprehensive. That is what we got. I'm doing fine. So how do we make sense of that? And that's where Kubler-Ross comes in and helps me. And Kubler-Ross talks about those six stages from shock to integration. And what I do now, what I did is I took Kubler-Ross and I sort of looked at those replies, those comments, and kind of wanted to put them into the different boxes. And on top of that, I was in a webinar last week run by Mezana Partners, those who know William Winston, that's the company William works for, and they talked about this. So this is a big thank you at Mezana that I could use those slides. Thanks, William. Thanks, Gary. So this is the first stage, shock. That's what we hear. At home and generally fine. Well, obviously, that might be, I'm not saying that is someone in shock, but that's kind of where, rings a bell. So these are the signs, what are the, oh, sorry, it's not what I wanted. Let's go back. So these are the, what do you look out for? And what I came across is, people that were non-responsive. So I had a few that didn't answer at all, and people that actually usually engage quite a bit. The frenetic working. So if you go back, you remember the one that now works is available at 7 at 1 at night. Is that maybe sort of, still in a state of shock? What might be appropriate action? Clear, simple messaging, time and space to process. So we gave athletes a week to digest. That came back from one of the coaches, which is basically, acknowledging that athletes out there, the team out there, is probably a bit shocked. This is quite a lot to take in. So we had a conversation, and then we gave them a bit of time. So that would really be an appropriate action. It's probably what you did with your athletes, gave them a bit of time. Yeah, so that would be phase 1, shock. Yeah, you're laughing. Yeah, denial. Yeah, it's normal. We're just not on the water or in the same building. That might be kind of a bit of a sign of denial. It's just a change of plan. No need to dramatize. What do we look out for? Maybe this here is the last one, losing touch with reality. Actually, this is the biggest crisis this planet has ever seen, mankind has ever seen. And people say, no, it's just a change of plan. There's no drama. I haven't heard anyone sort of that was looking for evidence that isn't true, but obviously there are some groups out there, they say this is an attack from China, etc., etc. So, but what I definitely sort of got is maybe a slight, touch of people losing reality. And what might be appropriate action, again, like in shock, be clear, be simple in your messaging, slow down, not to overwhelm. And help people to understand what is going on, put it into context. And now I think since about today, we know there's no senior worlds, in autumn in Blair. So put it in that context, and be, lead away from misinformation. Maybe just have one source of information. You watch the news at 6 every night. That's your source. Because at the moment, if you go, from morning till late, and you go on social media all over the place, you don't know what to believe. But yes, really help people to understand, put it into context, and it's real. Be firm with that reality. Right. That's the frustration, the frustrated one. I was really pissed off. Anger. I haven't really come across others. Maybe the resistance, a bit of resistance to really, people were still trying to find pools. I've done it at triathlon, so they were still looking for pool access in the first place. Where could we still have and arrange pool access? Where could we still? And now it's obviously the big thing: paddle pool in the back garden, or do they still have the endless pools? And I was told they're not producing anymore, but there are a few in stock, and once the stock is gone, then there's no paddling pool. And now, some after 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, the first ones come now. I'm living next to the beach. Can I go and do open water swim? So this is that kind of resistance, obstruction. Obviously, there's still people out there. They gather, and they don't follow government advice. Yeah, but really, they gutted, absolutely gutted. That very coach, I checked in with him, that has gone. This is now 2 weeks in, almost 3 weeks. That has gone. He got through the bottom of the curve, and he's now really on the experimenting decision-making phase. I feel very challenged. What do I do with athletes coming to the end of the career? And you might have come across in rowing, we have athletes that have retired now because Tokyo comes and is kind of in 21 too late. So others might still play with that. And this is a coach a bit desperate, frustrated. What do I do? Because again, this is the first time, this is the first time we have a situation like that. Listen to those people, that is appropriate. Their anger, their frustration, acknowledge it. And then, once they're a bit more confident, you can move on. Right. I hope you're still with me. Dan, is still anyone in the room listening?
Hi, Jörg. Yep, yeah, you're getting a few questions come through, which we'll see at the end.
Okay. And is there still anyone listening?
They are. They're very much engaged. So yeah, right. Carry on.
Okay. This is strange, but I'm really now in experimenting phase, and that's why I said to Sarah the other week, yeah, I'll do it. Little I know what is coming, so I'm really into experimenting, and I might then decide if I have a career in webinar running webinars.
I'll pass back over to you, Jörg. You're doing brilliant.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, so this is the frustration. This is kind of approaching the bottom of the curve. All right, you can always highlight the things that won't be changing whilst keeping a focus on what needs to change. Yeah, so I mean, you can still ergo. You can still, that's amazing. I mean, you can still go out running. So yeah, right. Let's move to that one. This is the depression one. That's sort of the bottom of the curve, in the tunnel. And the good thing is, there is always light at the end. at the end of a tunnel. I can't diagnose depression, obviously. I'm not a medical doctor. I can't. It's just you listening, you know, and when you then hear, you know, I was just doing the bare minimum, didn't have any energy, you know, low energy, low productivity. I didn't even engage in conversation with my wife. I was really struggling to maintain a routine, or in this case, I heard, you know, I haven't got a daily routine yet. You know, you know, that really difficult because, you know, the purpose has gone. You know, wide ranging, like negative emotions. You know, like I don't know because the purpose has gone. I don't know why I get up in the morning. Yeah. Again, you know, you offer support, and you're there. You connect them to the bigger picture, and you know, if you can, you might not use this time now and throw a massive project to that athlete. You need to work on this, and this. You might not throw the project of, yes, come back with the new technical model for the club. You know, you wouldn't do that with a person that is sitting in that tunnel. Yeah. So that is an appropriate action, and you can control that. Yeah. This is someone who said, you know, I get a lot, and that's the same for me. You know, I get a lot of that energy when I can meet people. You know, I even sometimes, you know, touch people, those who know me. And actually, on that note, the last time I touched someone, a tap on the back of the shoulder, was, I remember very well, that was at Molesey Boat Club, 14th of March, and it was the junior coach. If you're listening, Nick, that was the last time I actually had a physical contact with a person. So yes, you have, you know, with the removal of this, it has taken me some time. So when he or she wrote that, has already kind of probably approached the end of the tunnel, but really, really struggling. That didn't have energy. Sorry. And this is sort of coming out. This is sort of coming out of the bottom. And you know, in life, sometimes we need that bottom to create energy. You know, it's like the high jumper. You know, it has to go down first a bit and then jump high. And this would be the analogy here. So sometimes we need those depressions, those dents, and sometimes they're just very short and maybe not that deep. And then you start to experiment. So that this is experimenting. So you have again a bit of energy. You feel, you know, a bit lighter, and you might have found a little bit of oomph to sort of get up at 7 o'clock again. And those who get up at earlier, they get up earlier, of course. How do you do this? You know, and I had a few now. I wanted to do this, how you do this. So I see myself a bit in this experimenting phase at the moment with the webinars. And you know, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you turn off, you go out, you leave the room, and hey ho, that's fine. This is really good to use reflective space, and I use the time now to, you know, and you know what? We not only invite the sweepers, but we invite the scholars, you know, and do a bit of reflection. So we're really starting to experiment. Oh, right, okay. And what about we bring in the psychologist as well, or the physiologist, and we can talk about the return to training. So this is obviously everything that is up here in orange. These are quotes that I heard. So I'm not making that up. These are quotes that, for those who haven't understood it yet, that I sort of try to allocate to those phases. What you look out for, you know, positive questioning. I had quite a few, the latest this morning. You know, started to ask question. What do you think about that? I'm really connected, you know, I'm really connected. I once a week I meet with the coaches here, and then the other week I do that. Anyway, and a bit of autonomy. They even start, to bargain. That would be, well, what about I do it like that? So if an athlete said, what about I do another 5K? What do you think? You say, well, maybe there is no worlds this year, so maybe you just leave it at, you just leave it at 12K or whatever. Anyway, offer people clear processes, give them structure, and build capacity. And allow them, this is their experiment, allow them trying different ways. And maybe different ways that might then be sustainable. So it's not about throwing loads of them to create lots of dependency that once lockdown is over, people can't function anymore. But really allow them to go slightly different ways. Look, I tried it like that, which is a tell sign of, yes, they're probably through the bottom. And when you hear those phrases, then yes, might be confirmation. This is decisions, do I go left, do I go right? Obviously there are a few directions missing, I know that. And yes, I had red shoes or red trainers at some point, Olympic Games 2012. Yes, I rem a decision, cool. We have another, there's a decision, cool, we have another year to prepare. I could probably allocate that even into the experimenting one, yes, we have another year. This is, I can either go and stay in hibernation, or I can choose to look at it as that's another year. And then, this is a club. Those who don't recognize the guy in the glasses, that's not me, but that's Phil at Molesey. They said, yeah, we do the spotlight. We did the spotlight profile with them, was his team. And we said, yeah, we do it online. I mean, you ask Phil how good it was. I'm obviously a bit biased, but it was 4 coaches, the captain, and I was sort of I just facilitated that. Yeah, they said, let's go ahead. We do it. So yeah, so definitely a sign of making decisions, and yeah, I should bring that up. A quite high level of initiative, increase productivity. You can read it and increase creativity. So yeah, of course. I just checked my watch, by the way. It's 33. We have 27. We're doing okay, Dan. Yeah. What I'm missing really is that interactive piece, and the only one I can talk to is you, Dan. So sorry.
I can tell. Yeah. We've got, at the moment, about 6 really good questions that have come in already. So just make sure you leave time for the end, because there's some really good ones for you to get to.
Shall I just continue and then we go to the questions? Yeah.
Absolutely. Carry on.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, creativity and kind of, even though for those who didn't know that you can do online coaching, they realize, well, actually, you can do quite a bit, and they become creative. And if you can't connect on GoToWebinar, then you have Hangouts, you have Microsoft Teams, you have, what's the latest, House Party. I know a coach, they meet on House Party, not doing parties, maybe now, yes, starting the party for Easter, but meeting. So I've got a lot of coaches, they start to realize, wow, what an opportunity. And actually those conversations are meaningful. So yes, so look out for that. What might be appropriate actions, offer options, what about this, what about that? Because they're sort of back, energy levels are back, sadness has gone. So bring together little working groups, what we did there was at NBC. And yeah, celebrate it. I think this is a period now where we sort of start to recognize and to value, to value the little things again. My tulips out there, red and yellow. The bench. If you have a garden, the bench outside sitting, it's just the little things. The squirrel that is coming. Celebrate that. This is sort of integration. This is when you come, that's the the end of the curve. And very often at the end of the curve, people, you heard that quite often, you know, people come out of it stronger than coming in. You know, we have more and better conversation. How good is that? How good is that? And how can we now make sure, you know, how we can integrate that so it stays there? It's not only a COVID better conversation, but it stays. Yeah. Take stock of the learning. You know, what is it? What is it? You know, that you learned. What do you recognize? Have a talk with your colleagues, with your peers, with your teams. You know, how could you maybe maintain those changes? You know, all those opportunities, all those obstacles now that you put out of the way, turn it into opportunities. Take stock, name them, and look at how you can integrate them. Because I mean, this is really about having good conversation. That's all what coaching is about, isn't it? And I say, if you do that well, the medals will follow. All right. So I think that, yeah, that brings us, and maybe I just rattled back. I should have had that here. I'm really sorry. Maybe just a little summary of, yeah, that's it. You know, integrated. You know, change is integrated. A renewed individual. Just be aware that this is not a linear thing. This is not you start on the left side. This is a bit of a shock. You might go downhill, and people around you, and then you come up again. You can fall back. You can go between denial and frustration, you know, and back again. From my own experience, you know, I have a few events when I went from shock straight. Well, I didn't even admit I was shocked. Yes, I was. Yeah, I was. I'm lying. But I went straight to integration. Nothing happened. Yes, denial, no, frustration. I just left it behind. Straight into integration, and depression caught up with me. You know, a few times in my life, depression caught up, and I paid a heavy price. So really, you know, you can go through, and you might have experienced it yourself. You go through, you might fall back a bit, back and forth. What really helped me is sort of that awareness of that curve, and sort of, you know, observing myself. And if I can do that for myself, then I feel like I was able to start to detect it in others, and then be a better supporter and be of better help for those people. So anyway, loads of questions, and we went through those six phases, and with all the quotes from the coaches out there. Sorry about that. That wasn't planned. That's you now. What are your takeaways from what you just heard? And use your keyboard. And I think it's bottom left. I think, Dan, there is a chat box. And if I give you 2 minutes, and you just, I'm sliding up and down the curve. Okay, thanks, Sarah. So if you want to take 2 minutes and type away.
Just so you know, everyone, the webinar is being recorded, but obviously we won't use any names that come through with anything on our recording. So please feel free to say what you want to say. Just be aware that it is being recorded for future use. Jörg, are you happy to take some questions?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
they're
Go for it. Yeah.
starting to fly in now.
Wow.
Right.
Dan, be selective. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll try. Yes, I'll be selective. And obviously they can't see whether they have asked the same question as someone else.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I'll
No,
do
no.
my
Go ahead.
best. And as I said, everyone, the questions that we don't answer, I'm sure Jörg will be able to hopefully find some time to write and type out those answers, and we'll put those on the website when they're ready. So the big news today was the FISA announcement that under 23s and the junior world champs have been cancelled. So there was a question here, and I think this kind of actually pulls in a lot of people's questions about what would you suggest for supporting these youngsters that have currently got a sense of loss, and other juniors and athletes that have trained and lost their point that they were trying to perform at, their peak performance point. So over to you, Jörg.
Well, a brilliant question, and complex. Have the conversation. Have really use connect. And if you haven't connected with the athletes that you're talking about here, that you have on your mind, get in touch. If they're minor, you be in touch with the parents. Yeah, have those questions ready. Listen, ask questions, and don't try to sort of flatten it. Nothing happened. Of course, it's massive. And I asked, you saw it, I asked about postponements. I didn't say what do you think about the postponement Tokyo? No, I mean, for the one that is in his last year junior, and no junior worlds this year. So the idea of becoming a junior world champion is kind of, is gone. The same was the under 23s last year, under 23. I think I can only give the general, a very general answer, and that is, check in, have those conversations started. You know that those athletes, and do not pretend nothing happened, and don't tell them you need to do 16K tomorrow. Just put it in a context, check in with them, see how they are doing, what's happening, listen to that story. If you think you need to bring in the parents, you need to bring in someone else, please do that, but have those conversations. And if that kid doesn't train today and tomorrow and for the next week, that's fine, but might go for a walk in the park. Just make sure that they start to establish a little bit of a plan, and you are a vital person to have that conversation. They connect with you, so maybe you help them a bit in sort of establishing the plan, how it could look like, not the detail that we saw from that performance coach, but really helping sort of establishing a bit of a plan.
Brilliant. Right, on to another one. What advice would you give to coaches to deal with their own disappointment? And I'm going to add to that, being a junior coach, like parents' disappointment, because parents are key stakeholders in their children's performance, and they're putting a lot of time as well. And how not to pass their own disappointment onto their athletes.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one.
We've got some good attendees here.
No, and I know that there's smart people out there, and this is not straightforward. Well, first of all, look after yourself. So you coach, if you're not absolutely completely down in that tunnel, and even there, reach out, have a conversation, open your mouth, talk, show vulnerability. Do you know what? If you don't struggle now, when do you struggle? I mean, it's massive, and that has nothing to do with rowing. This is a global health crisis. So please have the conversation. Talk to someone that you trust. That might be your wife, that might be your partner, that might be your grandma, that might be, you know, a colleague from the team, someone you trust. Talk about it. Show a bit of vulnerability. It's okay. It's okay. And sort of try to make sense of what happens. You know, I mean, what happened? You know, I mean, it's only an event that went. So, you know, I mean, start to build a bit of context. And if you can't do it yourself, I mean, it's fully understandable. Fully understandable, especially if you identify yourself just by the number of medals your teams have won at the end of the day. So those people might struggle a bit more to find purpose. Talk, or open up, not to everyone, but select that person, yeah, and have that conversation, and then you can connect with your athletes. Show empathy, let them talk, listen. In a few minutes, I'll summarize kind of what I learned from that process. I'm quite happy to share with you sort of lane 1 to 6, yeah. Lane 1, learning 1, lane 2, learning 2. Dan, have I answered the question?
Yeah, no, I think you did. And I've got another brilliant one here that's come in. It's been asked 3 times, and I think this has definitely happened because we have just been told by the government that this lockdown is going on longer than the first 3 weeks when they said they were going to revise it, which I think most of us knew that was going to happen. But again, yes, goalposts are moving. So I'm gonna. We've got a question here. Again, I'm picking one, but it does kind of take a few of them. So finding that setting some challenges helps with motivation, but we could be in this for months. So do the challenges get bigger? And if so, if they change, how do we deal with this scenario if we're, say, in it in September?
Yes. Well, I mean, knowing that now, you know, and we probably already know it for quite some time. It was just kind of rubber stamped today, yeah, by the government. Was it Dominic Raab? I didn't hear him, but I think Raab is still the one that runs it. So, and by the way, Boris, all the best, and wish you recover fully. No, I think something that I found over the last few weeks, hyperactivity. And maybe you just have to slow down the gears, you know, come back, slow down, and you don't have to entertain them for 24/7. And that's kind of what I got a bit. So if you connect with them, and obviously everybody knows that, make that as part of a conversation. What do you think? How can we how can we make that sustainable? How can we stay motivate? And by the way, there's no race for maybe a year, so you don't have to build up anything. You don't have to, you know, stay, you know. Do you see where I'm coming from? So yeah, slow down and have it as a topic, maybe amongst coaches, you know, and you might just give some options in terms of training. Don't prescribe. The more you prescribe, the more you just create dependency, and without you holding their hands, obviously virtually, you know, they don't see a purpose. So really slow down, make sure that you sort of pass a bit of ownership to them and the parents, and you can't do it for them. At the end of the day, you can't do it for them. They need to get through, and they will. You know, we will get through.
Okay. One about the different way that we're now communicating with many of our athletes and colleagues and families and friends. So do you think that with the modern media routes that we're losing the personal touch of face-to-face contact, even though I know you can see me and I can see you, but what's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, no, I've started, I mean, 10 years ago, I said to the psychologist of my team, I say my team, our team, when she said in the evening when we finished, she goes now and asks she can't come for dinner because she has some more work, online coaching. I thought, what a load of, yeah, I don't know the word in English. Of course I know it. But so I started in 2014 to do what I'm doing now and started to have online meetings. And I must say, nobody had to convince me that actually you can have very good meetings, very good conversations. You know what is important of a good meeting, great meeting, is you have an agenda. There are aims. Yeah, you went through the grow model. You know, you have a grow idea. What's the goal? What's the reality? What's the opportunities? What next? You know, you'll have clarity on that. Then my experience is that was a great meeting. It was safer. I didn't have to travel. I saved some time. How good is that? What I find out now from all those conversations with coaches is, wow, you know, this is about turning that into an opportunity, into exploring that. And the other day was a coach I had FaceTime, Skype, a Hangout, and what else? The fourth one slips my memory. On two of them we had the audio worked, the other two it didn't. So you can have fantastic conversations, great conversation. You don't need to be able to touch each other. Obviously, the rowing thing, rowing, be in a boat, you know, pool, if you can't access the pool, you know, crisis brings creativity, brings the best out of people. So it's you, and you can message that. You can drive those conversations. Yes, you are at home, and we're maybe at home until September, you know, and the next race is in April 2021.
Yeah. Right. So
Shall I summarize my learning, and then we come back to some final questions? Or is there?
I'm going to give one more.
Okay.
Yeah,
one
if
more.
that's okay, and then I'm actually going to leave the questions because I think I think your summary, and I think we're there.
Yes.
But just one that is quite important regarding this topic. We have a lot of junior coaches and a lot of coaches of young adults on this call, on attending. Okay. You know, how important would it be to offer, say, group chats or squad meetings, or should be stuff done in individuals? I mean, British Rowing has released some guidance for keeping coaches safe in this, but just as with your experience, what's the difference between group meetings and individual meetings?
Obviously, individual meetings is one-to-one. I'm just was one other person. Yeah.
Thanks.
Just to clarify. Yeah. Okay. And the group meeting is one. Yeah. Well, first of all, make sure you're safe. You know, training and rowing and triathlon and swimming and canoe slalom, which is my background, that's not that relevant. Yeah. Important is they are safe, you're safe, the family. That's number one. I mean, and then, you know, experiment. If you haven't done it before, experiment. I mean, you know, and the group meeting, you know, when I see rowing group meetings, they're always, you know, the more people in the room, the better. Well, make a little one with 3, with 4. Maybe with all the ones that sweep on the left. What are the lefties? How do you call them on the left?
On the left?
Yeah. The sweeper has the oar on the left.
You mean difference between bow and stroke?
Yes.
Carry on.
Bow and stroke. Yeah. So you might say just the bowers get together, you know, or maybe just the one. Have, you know, and they love it, you know. Have a conversation. My little one, he is 10. He does Instagram with his cousins, and you know, and you might just do something with the 4 or the 8. Up to you, experiment. But you know, connect them, stay connected. This here is not social distancing. It could be. This here is physical distancing. Please stay at home. But it's not social distancing. Please use it. You know, if that would have happened 25 years ago, well, that would have been different. But now, you know, use it. Practice. Don't try to be perfect. And you might even have a meeting where you don't have an agenda. It's just connecting, you know, over a glass of water or an energy drink or coffee or whatever. We start the afternoon tea next week with coaches from the rowing pathway. Afternoon tea. No agenda other than we want to reflect a bit on the week. So please try out, do groups, little groups. Only the male athletes together and the women athlete, and then you might even develop a pub quiz or, you know, the Easter egg hunt or whatever. So yeah, please have the conversations. Make sure it is physical distancing only and not social distancing.
So Jörg, I'm gonna leave you to say the final word, but just before that, I just want to say a thank you from me.
No, we're not there yet. No.
Go. I'll drop out. You
Don't
bring
get
me
rid
back
of
in.
me, but now you probably got rid of me.
No.
Look, this is my takeaways. Lane 1 to 6. Yeah, takeaway. Embrace individuality. You know, the postponement for different individuals will mean different things, and the curve will be different. Respect that. Embrace that. Respect the level of hierarchical needs. They're on different levels. Some are still looking for toilet paper, and others are already, you know, in development plans. All right. Read and listen between lines. Read, listen. You know, the ones that are sort of approaching maybe the bottom, maybe still quite low, sad, especially today. You know, if I did that check-in the last 2 weeks, you probably respect now the Easter break, but check in with them on Tuesday. Check in and read, listen between lines, and yes, look after yourself. Stay connected. You know, use it, use that space, use those use those medias that we have. Engage with non-responders. You know, I had a few, so just check in. You know, somebody that responded but only half a line. I'm fine. You know, listen loud and allow emotions. You know, I mean, that's the most normal thing. The thing about emotions are they go again. That's certain. It's people first, isn't it? And the medals will follow. On that note, thank you.
Thanks again, Jörg. Yeah, just you know, if there was a room of people, there'd be a big round of applause. So Jörg, thank you very much. There will be an email out to provide some feedback from this webinar, and also on the web page that you logged in and registered your interest from on the British Rowing website. You can find a form to fill out if you've got ideas or future webinars that you'd like us to run. Just on that, there is a future webinar, and we're looking for pictures of coaches in action, doing their day-to-day job, doing their job not now in front of a laptop as such, but actually when you were out on the boat and on the water, on the bike. If you could, I'll send a link to that in the email that you receive. But if you wouldn't mind you working really hard and showing best practice on a future webinar, then that would be great to receive. Thank you very much. And it's 1 minute to 8. So I'm just about to jump outside and give a big round of applause to our key workers. I hope you will join as well. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.